start with the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic's biggest question coming into this season was, could they advance into being a top of the half of the league NBA offense, paired with the fact that they have been an elite level offense the last 4 to 5 seasons under coach Jamal Mosley. And so far, even with adding Desmond Bane, even with adding Tyus Jones, in the early goings, it seems like the answer is no. It feels like it's the same old Orlando Magic when it comes to struggling to generate easy offense, mainly from the perimeter in terms of creating open 3-point opportunities. This team bamboozled Orlando Magic fans in the very first game of the season, knocked down 40% from beyond the arc in the win against the Miami Heat at the crib. Since then, they are 0-3 and have not shot above 35% from beyond the arc in a single one of their games, dating back to that Miami game, including shooting 32% in the most recent loss against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Orlando Magic are starting what will be a 5-game road stint for them, in which they are going to play a handful of teams that play very similar to the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm not saying in terms of having the kind of talent, I'm talking about play style. The Philadelphia 76ers, led by VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, with guys like Quentin Grimes coming off the bench, and having someone like Kelly Oubre as a small ball four for you, is a team that likes to play run and gun, up and down basketball. In this game against the Orlando Magic, they got up 97 shots. The Orlando Magic had 82. The Philadelphia 76ers had 97 shot attempts in this game. High up tempo offense, probably going to end the year off as one of the top 10 teams in pace of play this year. Up next, they have the Detroit Pistons, maybe not as similar in that regard, but very talented with guys like Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren in that front court. The Charlotte Hornets, very similar. The Washington Wizards, very similar. The Atlanta Hawks, not as much so, but a team that is trying to figure out their identity now with the newly added guys like Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the roster. So, 2 of their next 4 games and 3 of their quote-unquote last 5 by that mark are going to be against teams that are high up-tempo offenses. Why does this matter? Actually, even if you go before that, before playing the 76ers, their loss before that was against the Chicago Bulls. Another team, very similar in terms of wanting to put a lot of emphasis on up-tempo pace. Why does that matter? Because the Orlando Magic, if you listen to a lot of the press conferences in the preseason, their goal to up their offensive efficiency was to start by playing faster. And the growing pains of trying to play faster is that you're going to turn the ball over a lot more, something the Orlando Magic have done. Let's go to the 76ers game where they turned the ball over 13 times to the Sixers 7, and the Sixers got 20 points off of those 13 turnovers. So you're going to turn the ball over at a high rate. You're going to shoot early in the shot clock, which means that you're not fully maximizing creating an open look, open opportunity if you have knocked down 3-point shooters, which in the case of the Orlando Magic, outside of 1 or 2 players right now, they do not. And for a team that has really, really strong positional size with Franz, Jalen Suggs, I would say even Desmond Bane for his position is very relatively, he's built well for what his positional guard is going to be. Paolo, and then Wendell Carter Jr. play not a jumbo lineup, but a larger lineup. You are sacrificing the ability to impose your will on the inside on a regular basis. In that Chicago Bulls game, a stat came out that said that Paolo Banchero had only shot 3 for 9 in the restricted area, the painted area. and that Franz Wagner was, I believe, 4 for 10 or 5 from 10 from the restricted area. And the first question I ask myself is like, why is Paolo only taking 9 shots in the paint against the Chicago Bulls, where Nikola Vucevic is their quote unquote rim protector? And the second question I ask myself is, why does it feel like this team is overly forcing playing fast in the early going, as if they're not trying to acclimate themselves to adding a new talent? They're trying to do two things at the same time. This is a lesson that can be applied to life just as much as it can be applied to the Orlando Magic. Sometimes it's a lot easier to try to add one new thing at a time rather than throwing a bunch of new things together at once and trying to learn them all at the same time. Although it might feel like your progress is much slower, your ability to adapt to said new thing you're adding increases the rate in which you'll pick it up, because you're focused simply on just integrating that one thing. This team is trying to play faster, integrate Desmond Bane, incorporate Tyus Jones off the bench, figure out whether or not Jace Richardson as a rookie can fit within this rotation, balance the fact that Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are both vying to be real all-star caliber players this year, all centered around Jamal Mosley trying his best not for this team to lose their identity built on defense, while understanding that if this team does not take a step forward on the offensive end, they are going to be capped out at being a perennial playoff team that can't get out of the first round on a year-to-year basis. That's a lot to digest at one time. How does that reflect? Not only is this team not been good offensively, but defensively. They've been one of the worst teams in the NBA, I believe bottom 7 or bottom 8 in 2-pointers allowed. This is in the paint and in the mid-range area. One of the worst teams in terms of allowing guys to get to the rim. And it showed in that Philadelphia 76ers game where rookie VJ Edgecombe looked like he was getting just about anything he wanted. And now, don't get me wrong, so far through 3 games for them, he does not look like an ordinary rookie. He is a guy that I think is going to be a problem in this league for a long, long time, especially next to Tyrese Maxey. But it seemed like he was just getting to his spots with ease. And that's with all-world defender Jalen Suggs out there on the perimeter, granted. Still on a relatively minimal capacity, given the fact that he came into this season with injury. But nonetheless, was kind of just able to get anything he wanted. And I saw him score at all 3 levels at an efficient rate. He finished the game off with, let me respect his shooting splits, 10 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 26 points and 7 assists, along with 2 stocks. Finished the game as a plus 13, despite the fact that this game, the game was a high-scoring affair. The Orlando Magic need to figure out the one thing they want to work on the most in the early going. I think the answer needs to be incorporating Desmond Bane. And Desmond Bane, the counting stats, you'll look at him and you'll say, Bane's averaging 17 points and he's averaging like 5-6 assists per game. But here's the thing. Here's the glaring number, right? Because, so he is averaging 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 47.5% from the field, 92% from the free throw line. Here's the thing that stands out. 27.3% from beyond the arc on 5 attempts per game. In the preseason, Desmond Bane was talking about wanting to beat his career average of 3-point attempts per game to help juice this offense in terms of being able to get more volume from beyond the arc. Well, first off, this team is only taking about 27 3-point attempts per game, which everybody knows in this modern NBA is middle of the pack in the league at best. Desmond Bane is only taking 5 attempts per game in the early going right now. And I don't know if that's because of some kind of passivity from him, or if that's the lack of spacing showing itself for the Orlando Magic, or if that has something more to do with him just trying to figure out where he fits in next to Paolo and Franz. But 27.3% is not only unacceptable for what they're trying to get from him, given the kind of capital they moved to acquire him, it also gives deja vu for Orlando Magic fans of what they got out of KCP last year. KCP had one job, or I guess you could say two: come in and guard and be a big time perimeter defender next to Jalen Suggs and hit the three ball. Desmond Bane has two jobs: be a perimeter shot creator. No one asked him to be a high level playmaker. Granted, Desmond Bane has shown that he has playmaking chops. He's shown that time after time with the Memphis Grizzlies in seasons where Ja Morant missed significant time, including last year. And to be a knockdown three-point shooter. The man has never shot less than 38% from beyond the arc since being drafted. 27%. That is an 11% difference from what his quote-unquote career low is since entering the NBA. Now, I don't know if this is like that scene from I don't know if this is that like the scene from, you know, where we're talking about the, you know, I don't know if this is one of those situations where you play it back in your head. I'm trying to figure out the best way to like illustrate this. I don't know if this is one of those things where you play it back in your head and you ask yourself, did the Orlando Magic make the wrong decision? Because it's too early, right? It's too early to really peg that just yet. But I think you also look at what this means long term if this continues. You're out draft picks long term. Desmond Bane is under contract for the next 3 to 4 years. And the skill set that best makes him dangerous in this league, right now he is struggling mightily. I think the biggest thing for me with the Orlando Magic, and I'm going to wrap this one up because I don't want to, dwell on this too long, but the thing that gets me with the Orlando Magic is that they're a team right now that I feel like is just trying to figure out the kinks of having real expectations. And that's okay, right? This team is coming in with the thought from national media members saying that they should be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. That's a lot of pressure for a young basketball team, regardless of the fact that they have some of the best talent in the Eastern Conference, top to bottom. When you look at Paolo, Franz, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Wendell Carter Jr., Anthony Black off the bench, Tristan da Silva is very solid as well. Like, they've got talent across the board. So I think the real question moving forward is just like, how long is this shooting slump going to stick? But to remember, this team shot a league low 29%. I think it was actually like closer to 28% from beyond the arc as a team last year. So this slump can go much longer. It can. The question is, will it? If it does, the Orlando Magic are going to be in for a really, really tough year. If they can right the ship, this is going to be a team that I think we're going to be having real conversations about in like, March and April. Like, could they make themselves a real Eastern Conference Finals kind of team year one out the gate with Desmond Bane added to this roster? That's just my thoughts on it.